I know it's fun to eat and drink, and I want to join you and do that, but there's a reason we're here. And it's a very important night to me and to somebody that I'm going to introduce. If you'll gather around, just give me a few minutes, and then we'll go back to the good stuff. I'm Ed Hooper, and I'm the current representative for District 67 in the Florida House. And they're throwing me out. I knew they'd catch on sooner or later. Let me tell you how important, and what a crowd. Thank you for coming, and let me tell you how important tonight is. This feels like I'm going to introduce my son to you. That's how much I love Chris Latvala. Chris and I started my adventure in 2005, and he worked me to death. Every day he made me walk door to door till I was give out. He made me spin that dial and call you. And he and I went to Tallahassee, and he was my legislative aide, and we learned that process together. And after 3 years, his dad made him leave and go to work for his company. And he hasn't been forgiven for that yet. But I can't tell you how proud and how pleased I am. And there will be a lot of people in this room and in the surrounding area that would make a really good argument that it's time for a really good representative for District 67. And I might agree with them on some nights. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to introduce the next representative for District 67, my friend, Chris Latvala.
Thank you very much, Representative, and about 13 months from now we'll be calling him Commissioner Ed Hooper. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm overwhelmed by not only your friendship but also your attendance. And thank you for Frank Chivas for opening up Island Way Grill. I'm not sure if he's here tonight. Mr. Chivas is a great leader in our party and a great businessman, and I encourage y'all not only to be a patron of this restaurant, which happens to be my favorite, but also his other restaurants, which are Salt Rock Grill, Rumba, and Marlin Garden. And also thank you for everyone who agreed to be on my host committee. You gave me one of the most important things that you have, and that was your name, and I appreciate that very much. There are some people that are here tonight that I'd like to recognize, and they're sitting over at this table right here. My mom, Betty Jackson, who's a public school teacher in Hillsborough County. My stepdad, Mark Jackson. And my stepsister, Carolyn Cullen, who's a corporal at the Pinellas County Jail. So if any of y'all get out of line, she'll whoop your tail. Also here tonight are some of my classmates of Leadership Pinellas, 2014 class. And from what I hear, we're the best class ever. So, thank you all very much for coming. And there are also some students here from Clearwater Christian College with Professor Clater, and also among them is their student body president, C.J. Johnson. So thank you all very much for coming. Now for the list of elected officials, and I would be, I guess I'll start from the top down. In the back we have our the best sheriff from Florida, Sheriff Latvala. Also here tonight we have the, and this means a lot to me that he was here tonight, because he is in the battle of his life, so to speak, election battle, and that's St. Petersburg Mayor Bill Foster. race is vitally important. The St. Petersburg mayor race technically is nonpartisan, but that's never the case, especially this year. His opponent's a liberal Democrat, and regardless of what he says, he's a liberal Democrat. And Bill Foster has done a great job for not only the city of St. Petersburg, but all of Pinellas County. And my dad and I are very proud to support him. And any help that y'all can give him would be greatly appreciated, because he's a great man and a great mayor, and has led this city through some tough times. And we're very appreciative of your leadership. Standing in the middle of the room, we have State Attorney Bernie McCabe. Thank you very much for coming, Bernie. Nancy Riley, who's a state committee woman for the Republican Party in Pinellas. Mrs. Riley, thank you for coming. He was here earlier, but I think he might have left, and that was Clearwater Mayor George Criticus. We also have one of our representatives from the Safety Harbor and Oldsmar area, and he also represents part of Hillsborough, but we like him better when he's here. And that's Representative Jamie Grant. Thank you. Also here is Representative Larry Ahern. And we have the chairman of the Pinellas County Republican Party, Michael Guju, who's here. Thank you very much. Safety Harbor Mayor Joe Ayub, standing. The treasurer of the Pinellas County Republican Party, Chet Renfro. And standing right in front of him is a former senator. Maybe one day he'll be a future senator. He's been around forever, and that's Senator Jim Sebestin. We have Representative Kathleen Peters here from the bench. Former mayor of the city of Clearwater, Brian Ongst, is here. Governor's appointee to the state Republican Party for the committee man for Pinellas County is here, and that's J.J. Beirut. Former County Commissioner Ronnie Duncan is here. He had to leave, but State Representative Jim Frisch was here, or former State Representative. Former County Commissioner Nancy Bostock. Palm Harbor Fire Commissioner Joe Petrillo is here. State Committee man for the Pinellas County Republican Party, Dan Tucker is here. Thank you for being here. Palm Harbor Fire Commissioner Julie Peluso is here. Clearwater City Commissioner Joe Colblaze is here. City Council. Former Clearwater Councilman John Duran is here. The president of the Pinellas County Young Republicans, Daryl Hamill, is here in the back. Vice Chairman of the Pinellas County Republican Party, Nick Sibley, is here. Former Chairman of the Republican Party in Pinellas County, Paul Bettinghouse, is here. Our property appraiser, Pam DeBove, is here. Bel Air Bluffs Commissioner Susie Sulfur is here. We don't have Congressman Young here, but we have the second best thing. to Congressman Young, and that's C.W. Bill Young II is here. Thank you for being willing. Hopefully you'll be joining us in Tallahassee. Did I miss anybody? Okay. Well, I did intentionally miss 2 people on purpose. But was there anybody else? All right. Yeah. There are a couple legislators that I failed to introduce, and there's a good reason to that. And that's because I consider both of them to be the kind of legislator that I would strive to be. They're both model examples of a true public servant. They have 2 different styles, but they're both passionate about Pinellas County, and neither one of them is afraid to stand up for what they believe in. And one of them may be a tad bit more in your face than the other one. They're both hated by the Tea Party, which I consider to be a badge of honor. Although I must say that neither one of them has ever been called a terrorist by the Pinellas County Tea Party, so I have them on that one. And of course, that's my dad, State Senator Jack Latvala. Also, you got to hear earlier from State Representative Ed Hooper, who's here. Thank you very much. I've known in my heart for a few years that I wanted to one day run for state representative in this district when Ed Hooper was term limited out. My desire to run goes back to my days working as his legislative aide. One afternoon during tax season, in either 2009 or 2010, I was at a local tax preparation office getting my taxes done, and the lady at the front desk had a very distinctive voice. I didn't recognize her face, but I knew that I'd heard her voice somewhere. And I looked at her name tag, and I was thinking, how I had dealt with this lady before. And then it dawned on me, she was a single mother who had 2 or 3 kids, and months earlier, 10 months or 12 months earlier, I helped her obtain unemployment benefits and other benefits through the state of Florida while I was working for Representative Hooper. And so I decided to ask her if her name was such and such, and she said it was, and I said, well, hi, I'm Chris from Representative Hooper's office. And her eyes welled up with tears, and she stood up and gave me a big hug, and thanked me for helping her months earlier, because we had talked at least once a week for several months. So she kind of became my buddy. And then she introduced me around to everyone in the whole office and told them how I helped her, a while back. And then once she realized that not only was I Chris from Representative Hooper's office, but I was Chris Latvala and my dad was Jack, she told me a story about how years prior, when my dad was in the Senate the first time, he did a back-to-school drive for backpacks and other school supplies, and her kids were able to get backpacks for school because of my dad. And she had told me that, to that day, that she had adored my dad and loved him, and Representative Hooper was in that category now because his office had helped her in a great time of need. And so it was that day that I realized that being a state legislator wasn't about pressing a red or green button on the floor of the House, and it wasn't about passing laws or voting on bills. It was about being a fighter for people in your district that needed somebody to fight for them. And so that was a lesson that really stood out to me. Being a legislative aide, I want to brag on my former boss and tell you another story. And that happened during the 2008 legislative session, which was his second session in office, and it was his first re-election. And the district now is a Democratic district, but back then it was still a pretty split district, so we were worried about his re-election. And so, being politically minded and worrying about my own job security, as well as his, I was trying to figure out, what kind of bills can we do to help his re-election campaign. Well, there was a health clinic in his district that's in a not great area part of town that was on the verge of closing down. and for years they received state funding. And so Representative Hooper put in a budget request for them. And when you're a freshman in Tallahassee, you pretty much stand up, sit down, and speak when you're spoken to. You don't really have a lot of power. And so through a course of making deals with the leadership of the House at that time, it came down to whether or not he was going to have funding for this health care center, or whether or not he was going to be able to pass a bill for his re-election campaign. And one day we were talking in his office, and I said, and they basically gave him a choice, either or choice. And I said, you know, Representative, what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to do the health funding. And I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, it's the right thing to do, and it's an easy decision. So his only accomplishment in the 2008 legislative session was getting $50,000 for a health clinic in his district in a part of town that they needed it the most. And he certainly didn't do it for political purposes, because in that election, the neighborhood that the health center is in voted 75% for his Democratic opponent. He did it because it was the right thing to do. And that was another great lesson. And that's the kind of representative we're blessed to have, and the kind of county commissioner we're going to have too. And I'm sure there will be times that the right thing to do for my constituents in Clearwater, Largo, and Pinellas Park will be to vote against my party's leadership. And in the Pinellas County tradition that includes names such as Young, Safley, Dunbar, Maroney, Burfield, Grimm, Wilson, Grizzle, Latvala, Hooper, Kaiser, Frisch, Sebesta, and Fasano, I will do just that. Before my election next year, there will be a very important one in the city. Right across the parking lot from here lives one of our most famous city residents, and that's Winter Dolphin. Her story became a blockbuster success a few years ago, and a sequel to Dolphin Tale will start shooting very soon. On election day on November 5th of this year, Clearwater voters will be asked whether to allow the Clearwater Marine Aquarium to move to the existing City Hall location. In return, Clearwater will receive a brand new City Hall at zero cost to taxpayers. I hope everyone here that lives in the city will vote yes on November 5th. It will be a chance to further revitalize downtown, bring jobs to Clearwater, and will not cost taxpayers a penny either during the referendum or after. And due to the age of the City Hall, it will have to be replaced anyways. And so there are many benefits to this, but one of them is we'll get a brand new City Hall that costs the taxpayer zero. As your state representative, I will focus on three main issues. Number one is the economy and jobs. The legislature, along with the governor, has done a tremendous job turning around our state's economy. Under the previous administration, the unemployment in Florida was over 11%. Currently, it's at 7.1%, and that's thanks in great part to our legislature and our governor. Business owners understand how to create jobs and grow our economy. The government needs to get out of the way by not taxing them or overregulating them to death. Issue number two that I will be focused on is education. As the son of a public school teacher, I hear all the time about issues impacting our teachers. Teachers should have the flexibility to teach their students, not focus their entire year on a single test. A student and teacher's performance should not be based solely on one test. Issue number three is public safety. Our law enforcement should have the tools they need to protect our citizens, and they certainly do not deserve having their pension screwed around with. Every day they put on their uniform and kiss their loved ones goodbye, they're heading into harm's way. They deserve more than a thank you. They deserve to have a solid pension or investment plan that they can rely on when they retire. This will be a very rigorous campaign. There are almost 1,000 more Democrats in this district than there are Republicans. This is the only House district in Florida that will have an election next year that has a current Republican representing it, but will be an open seat in a district that Obama carried. And he not only carried it once, but he carried it both times. So it's going to be a hard-fought campaign. And as soon as the Democrats quit fighting with themselves and actually find a candidate, it will be a dogfight, but it will be a fight that I'll be more than ready to have. There are several ways that you can help. If you live in the District 67, which is Clearwater and Largo, and the little piece of Pinellas Park, it doesn't include downtown or the beaches. If you live in District 67, if you'd sign a petition to help me get on the ballot, I'd greatly appreciate it. Number two, many of y'all have donated to my campaign, and I appreciate it. Money is the lifeblood of elections. Number three, if you'd like a sign at your home or business next year, let us know and we'll get you one. You can spread the word on Facebook and other social media outlets, and also amongst your friends. And there will be other volunteer opportunities that if you're on our email list, you'll find out about. Thank you again for coming tonight, and thank you for investing your time and treasure in this campaign. I truly appreciate each and every one of your friendship, and I promise you I'll do my best not to let you down. Thank you.